Hello, hello, and welcome to the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. I'm Karen Yankovich. I'm the host of this shebang, and I am excited to be here today with this topic. This is an important topic. I actually was surprised I haven't talked about this, if at least not in a really long time, because it's such a huge part of the work that I do, and that is how do you leverage LinkedIn for the transition to your next chapter, right? Many of the people, many of the women that I speak to are moving from corporate to consulting. And as such, they need a plan, right? They need a plan. And there's so much we can be doing to prepare for this, right? We don't have to just like quit our jobs and jump in and do all the things then. There's so much we can be doing to prepare for this. And, the beautiful thing about this is most people, most women, most men, most people, they come to this transition in their lives and their careers with all this expertise, right? Like you've been doing this stuff for so long. It's the experience you feel like you don't have as a consultant, like you've been in corporate. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. This is something that I have a personal story about, a personal connection. I remember when I made this transition myself, and I've done it like, as a mom, 4 kids, I had a couple of transitions when my kids were young, right? I was working and then I left and then I went back to work. And, so I did a few of those things. That's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, once my kids were grown, I went back into a regular paycheck job and worked there and then created this business. Boy, did I put in a lot of hours, created this business while I was still there because I needed to know that I had an income on the other side of it, right? Like I just didn't have the ability to just say, okay, and today I'm just going to quit my job and do this. So, and the last job that I had so much flexibility and so many days off and great benefits and a good paycheck. Like it was a hard decision, but I knew it was the right decision because, even with all the time off I had, I was using all my vacation time up by, the middle of the year, right? So I knew it was time to do it. And those last year or two when I was doing it, the benefit that I had was that the company that I worked for didn't care what I was doing outside of office hours, right? So I was able to show up and start to be visible and start to create content and start to create my business on the side. I was speaking at, posting about, like I would take vacation days to go speak at conferences, and they were cool with that. So not everybody has that benefit, right? So I want to just say going in that I get that. And I think that there's still a way for you to be able to do both. Okay. And those last few months before you actually, pull the trigger are nuts, right? You're putting so many hours in, or I was putting so many hours in. So you may be doing the same thing. It's not the way I wanted to run my business forever, but I knew that for that period of time, that's what I needed to do. And this is so important, especially on the, I'm recording this. It's going out in Q4 2024. We're a few years on the other side of the pandemic where so many women, maybe you went back to what you were doing before the pandemic. Maybe you're now being told you have to go back to the office. We're hearing a lot about that in the second half of 2024, right? Some of these big companies are saying now it's time to go back to the office. So maybe that's your catalyst to say, I'm just not ready to go back to the office 5 days, or I just don't want to go back to the office 5 days. Is there an alternative? I'm here to say, yes, there is. Yes, there is. So this is, and LinkedIn is the critical tool to create your thought leader brand and attract the high value clients so that you can not miss a beat with your income. Okay. So the first thing you need to think about when you're doing this is understand that you got to shift your mindset a little bit. Anybody surprised to hear me talking about mindset in this, right? It's just such an important part of the work that I do because it's if you're not shifting your mindset, you're never going to get where you want to go with this, right? So, as we see this growing trend of women in corporate moving to consulting, they're doing it for flexibility. They're doing it for more autonomy. They're doing it to create impact on your own terms, right? You have to, you can understand that you have to shift your mindset a little bit. You can take that corporate mindset with you, right? We talked about this a couple of episodes ago where, what if you applied your corporate mindset to your current role as an entrepreneur, right? Now we're flipping that a little bit. But I want you to remember that while we might be shifting the mindset a little bit to the mindset of an entrepreneur, we're bringing with us to this next chapter the skills that you developed in corporate, your leadership skills, your project management skills, your business strategy skills, right? These are incredibly valuable in consulting. LinkedIn can help you showcase those skills even while you are still at your corporate job because you're doing those things now, right? So you can start to craft your LinkedIn profile less like a resume. If you're, if your LinkedIn profile looks like a resume, you need to shift it to have it showing up as the brand of you, right? So you want to have your LinkedIn profile looking less like a resume, and understand that this is the first step. Stepping into publicly showcasing your expertise, showcasing your skills in this beautiful way allows you to take the first step down the path to turning that corporate experience right into a thriving, profitable consulting business. So how do you do that? Right? Well, I'm going to give you a couple little LinkedIn tips here. These are not things you haven't heard from me before if you've been a listener to this show, but I want to make sure that this is self-containing, this episode, so you have all the things. You've got to optimize your headline and your about section, right? You've got to do that. You want to craft a headline that tells people who you are, who you help, and how you help them. Remember, these are things you're still doing in corporate, right? You are not saying I am the director of operations. You're saying I help my team do this, and this, right? I make sure that the company has a smooth running, blah, 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 right? So these can be optimized in your headline and your summary now, but you want to only use the things that speak directly to the kinds of consulting you want to be doing. Okay. We're not making things up. This is all true. But, if part of your role is an HR role and that's not something you're bringing with you to your consulting business, don't talk about it on your LinkedIn profile. It's okay, right? Just talk about the things that you're bringing with you to your consulting business, right? You want to have as you're taking this down to your about section, remember this is about you, right? So tell us a story. Highlight your niche. If you have a niche, highlight that niche, right? You want people to read this and go, oh, this is who I need to talk to, right? And if it's too broad, they're not going to see that. So you want to highlight your niche. You want to speak directly to the next or the first consulting client you want to get. You want them to look at this so that they look at this and go, oh, wow, I need this. So you can literally say things in there, so I'll use this sentence of like, I help, I've used this a lot. I've helped women over 50 create enough wealth to retire at 60, right? Like that's an example of a sentence. You can say exactly that, but you can also say things like, you can also tell us a story about it. You can also say like, oh my gosh, I remember when I worked with my client, Mary. And when I got the LinkedIn update that Mary left her corporate job and stepped into the entrepreneur role, right? I wanted to, like I sent her flowers. Like I was so excited for her, right? Like that's what I want to see from you. It's not just about the facts. It's about the energy, the emotion, and the story behind the facts, right? So does that make sense? So you want to then take that same story-based, action-based, focused, niche-focused profile updating down to your experience section, right? Reposition your corporate experience from the time you worked at McDonald's when you were a teenager to where you are today to focus on your consulting offering, to focus on the offering you're taking with you into the next chapter. And I'm calling it a consulting offering, but it could be coaching. It could be many things, right? Maybe you're looking to build a speaking career, right? So insert whatever you're doing into when I say consulting, right? And you want to, again, if you were doing HR in one of those roles, you don't need to talk about that. But you can talk about how, again, I'll use this episode as an example. If I helped people in HR, if I don't have to talk about the benefit packages I helped negotiate, right? I can talk about how I loved helping women build their careers and grow and get promoted, right? You can talk about that. If that's it, did you see what I'm talking about here? You don't have to talk about the things you're not doing, but you can still talk about the HR you did 3 jobs ago, but position it so that you're building the story that's elevating you to the point where when you step out as a consultant and you ask people for $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000, they're like, yes, here's my credit card, right? Because you've done your job of positioning yourself, right? Do you understand? Does that make sense? There's other sections on LinkedIn you can use. For example, and I don't want to get too deep into your LinkedIn profile here, but use the featured section for credibility, right? If there's case studies that you've worked on, or maybe a project you worked on for your company that you're proud of, right? Add that. If you have thought leadership articles, if you've been published or key media mentions, or put all that in your featured section, because this builds your credibility and showcases your authority now, right? Before, during, and after your move from corporate to consulting. Okay, what's next? What's next? Well, here's what's next. Start to build your network. Start to build a strong network. Connect with the kinds of people, like potential partners, like potential clients, like industry influencers. Start to connect with them now. And hopefully you know by now, certainly if you've listened to other episodes than this, that I am not ever going to ask you to connect with 100 people a week. I do absolutely think that's unnecessary. You want to build a strong, solid, researched network that's going to be of value to you as you're stepping into and through your next chapter. Okay, so be intentional about who you're connecting with, right? Be intentional about who you're connecting with and why you're connecting with them. And continually, this is such an important piece of this, okay? Continually build that network. Your network drives your net worth. Have you heard that, right? Your network drives your net worth. That is absolutely true. We're not talking about that in this episode, but in our She's Linked Up programs, we are very much focused on building magnetic marketing. I want your next consulting client to reach out to you. And that happens when you're intentionally and consistently building a strong network of warm connections, no cold pitching ever, please. All right. Enough. I don't need to get on my soapbox about that. But then you want to engage your network, right? You want to actually, I don't want you to connect with anybody on LinkedIn that you're not actually looking to get on the phone with, or get on a Zoom call with, or meet for coffee, right? I want you to actually network with your network. Okay. Networking with, again, this is why it's so important that it's targeted, right? Thinking about, if you're as old as me and you've been around for a couple decades doing this, you maybe remember the gatekeeper, right? You couldn't get to the person you wanted to talk to in a company until you got through the gatekeeper. There's no such thing as gatekeepers anymore, right? We can go on LinkedIn straight to the CEOs of the company. So I want you to think big when you're building your network. There's, again, I don't want you to cold pitch them, but there's ways and strategies. And again, these are all things we work at in our She's Linked Up program, so that we can make this magnetic. And so that people are like, yes, I want to get on the phone with you, right? Your profile does a lot of that heavy lifting. We write your profile for you when we work with you, and you building your network so that you can actually network with them. Okay. And this is where you bring authenticity and credibility to this. And when if I ask 1,000 people, but let's just go with 10. If I ask 10 people, where did you get your biggest and latest client from? 9 out of 10 times they say a referral, right? A referral, not a Facebook ad, not, a referral. So, and referrals, who doesn't want referrals? So let's build our network so we can get more referrals, right? And this is how we get that authentically and organically. And that's how we strengthen our magnet to have that magnetic marketing strategy, right? And, engaging your network by outreach is one thing. But remember too, when you are posting on LinkedIn, right? And again, even if you are still at your corporate job and collecting your paycheck, you can still be posting on LinkedIn about things that are happening in your industry and engaging in conversations that other people are having on LinkedIn about things happening in your industry, right? Engage, engage, engage. Don't forget about recommendations. Start writing recommendations for people you work with now, people you've collaborated with, people that have been on projects with you. Hopefully they're going to maybe write some back for you. You want to start to be an accumulator of recommendations. If on behalf of your company, you've spoken at an event, ask the organizers to write you a recommendation. If you have people on your team that you've worked with, write them recommendations. I bet a couple of them are going to write you a recommendation back, right? So focus though on the previous colleagues or the corporate contracts or the contacts or the kinds of things that are focused, that are going to help you with the consulting services you're looking to offer or that you are now offering, right? Again, keep it really targeted and niched if you can. And then of course, how do we get our clients, right? Like the fun part, how do we actually, I think it's all the fun part. But how do we get our clients, right? So you want to do that outreach. You want to personalize your connection request. You want to invite people out for coffee. You want to maybe, there's so many different ways. There's so many different ways you can engage to land these contracts. You don't want to be pitching people. Like I literally, and I'm sure maybe you've gotten these too, I literally get things that say, hey, I looked at your profile and I think you're our ideal client. So we should work with you. Here's a link to buy our stuff. Like, what? What? Like, what's that about? Like, please stop pitching people your stuff, right? Have collaboration conversations. If you've done the networking piece right, if you've done a good job in strategically researching the people you want to connect with, and you've done that engaging, and you've done all the things we've talked about in the last 5 minutes, this next part is easy because it just follows. The business just follows. I have absolutely gotten clients that have seen me engage in a conversation on LinkedIn, did not know who I was, right? Checked out my profile. I did my job of making sure my profile spoke to that person directly, right? Even though I didn't know the person yet, and booked a call on my calendar because I made that really easy to do and enrolled in high ticket offerings that I have. It has happened to me. It happens for my clients. It can happen to you, right? So you want to be doing those things and not sitting back and waiting for that to happen, right? But, and there's some key strategies that we would help you with if we were working together directly, and understand that you want to personalize these messages, personalize these follow-up messages, and engage with them on a human to human basis. And that's where the business will follow. You want to even leverage like LinkedIn groups. I know that they feel a little bit like a complete wasteland, but if your potential clients are hanging out there, you may want to not just drive by post, like drop a post in and run, but maybe look to see some groups that you think maybe your ideal clients are hanging out in and engage on their posts, right? Like they're going to see that. They're not going to see if you post in the group and talk about your offerings, your products and services, but they're going to see if you engage on their posts, right? So go into groups that, niche specific LinkedIn groups and engage on their content, right? Engage. And then of course, continue to showcase your expertise with your content and articles. If you want to write articles and, continue to build, like I want you to build a brand as a thought leader. Okay. That is how we land business in 2024 and 2025. Okay. That is how this is happening. All the things we used to do, many of those are not working anymore. What is still working is people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And that's where and they're looking for more high touch contracts. They're not really looking, they've got a hard drive full of training. They're not really looking for your group training program where they've got a hard drive full of training. They want you, right? So showcase why you are the right person. Build that thought leader brand on LinkedIn and build your authority. Okay. And there's ways to do that with the kinds of content you create. If somebody comes across you somewhere, right, and then goes to check you out, and there is no articles that you've written, there are no podcasts you've been interviewed on or created or anything, you're not giving them something to hang on to say, to take that next step with you, right? So you've got to be creating articles and content. I know that I've dumped a ton of stuff on you in this, 15-minute episode, right? This is me talking 100 miles an hour here, but you can listen to it again. You can take lots of notes. We've got show notes too that you can refer back to. And of course we're here to help you, right? So I would love for you to let's recap this a minute. Let's just recap this a second. If you are looking to leave corporate and step into consulting, right? The first thing you need to do is remember that there's a big mindset shift here. You are no longer an employee, and you need to start to step into your role as a thought leader. And this might be one of the biggest transitions you're making is what's up here, right? What's in your head, not necessarily the tasks that I'm giving you, right? Remember that you've got all this expertise that you're bringing to this endeavor, right? So you're going to lean on that. You don't have to build your way up. You don't have to charge $5 until you can charge $10. You can go straight in for the $500 or the $1,000 an hour. I don't want you billing by the hour, but that's another conversation. But just to give you the sense of it, you can go straight for that. I know that there's a good chance you've seen those people come in. I know you've probably seen some of the corporate contracts, some of the consulting contracts that the company you previously worked for signed. And you look at them and going, wait, what? Right? That's a lot of money. You are now in a position where you can attract that kind of money to your business and your life and build generational wealth for your family. I believe this is the way to do it, is with these consulting type opportunities. You then want to build, you then want to set up your LinkedIn profile that speaks to this. You can do that now. This is the brand of you. If you're doing a lot of this work now, start to create a profile that positions that. Remember, we're going to talk about what is relevant to what you're bringing with you to the next chapter. You don't have to talk about what's not relevant. Start to create a client attracting profile. Build your network, build that strong network so that you are starting to get those referrals and have those conversations. And then don't be afraid to go after the high value contracts and to have those conversations. And if you need to practice those conversations, then practice those conversations, because this is important. You need to be able to say, and my fee for this engagement is $50,000. Like you say, please pass the salt. Okay. So this is how this happens. If this was valuable to you, then I would love for you to take a quick screen share of this and share this with your LinkedIn network or your social media networks, wherever you hang out. Tag me, because I love to be able to see them. Because when you share this post with your network, I can see it, then I can share it with my network. And guess what I'm doing? I'm now giving you more visibility. So as you step into your next role as a consultant, I'm here to support you with that. We're supporting each other. We're lifting each other up. That's what we love to see around here, right? That's what we love to see around here. If you're looking for some help with this, if you have not yet checked out our LinkedIn quiz, if you go to linkedinquiz.com, it's going to help you. A lot of the stuff I talked about here today, if there's any pieces of things that I mentioned today that made you go like, I don't really want to do that, this LinkedIn quiz is for you, because it helps identify your marketing style and helps you create a process behind all the things we talked about today, right? All the things we talked about today is the front of the process. The back of the process is what are you going to say? How are you going to do this? How are you going to find these people? The LinkedIn quiz helps with that. All right. So go to linkedinquiz.com. We have such a robust, once you take this quiz, you're going to get so much great stuff from us. And not, you're not going to get inundated with stuff, but we're going to give you what to say, what not to say. I even give you visualizations so that you can start to visualize how you can step into this role, depending on how you like to market, right? Because it's different for everyone. It's different for everyone. So linkedinquiz.com gets you there. Here's the deal. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool. And you know what? More women are starting to use it. When I first started this business I'm in right now, our She's Linked Up community and our Good Girls Get Rich podcast, I'm not really looking to exclude men. I just wanted women to feel more included in these strategies. And I think we're finally starting to see that. Finally starting to see that. This is where the money is. This is where the big ticket clients are. This is where people come to network and do business on a high level. So you need to be doing this. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool for women that are transitioning from corporate roles to consulting roles. I want you to take action today. Start to build that consulting brand that you've been dreaming of. Understand you can create a life and a business around big ticket clients. I'm here to support you with that. Our She's Linked Up community is here to support you with that. We've got a Facebook group that is completely free. You can check out the link somewhere on here to join that. It's take the first step, start making it happen, build a network of people around you to support you, and take action. I will see you back here again next week for another episode of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast.